All right, Mr. Daniels here with the back of the end of The Outsiders Chapter 2. We're on page 27. Just left off where we find out Cherry and Marcia had some boyfriends. They were drinking booze and they left them. Johnny and Pony are up there hanging out with them, and, hey, boyfriends might come back. So let's get started. Middle of page 27. I don't care if they did, Cherry sounded annoyed. It's not my idea of a good time to sit in a drive-in and watch people get drunk. You could tell by the way she said it that her idea of a good time was probably high class and probably expensive. They decided to stay and see the movie anyway. It was one of those beach party movies with no plot and no acting, but a lot of girls in bikinis and some swinging songs, so it was all right. We were all four of us sitting there in silence when suddenly a strong hand came down on Johnny's shoulder and another on mine, and the deep voice said, "Okay, Greasers, you've had it." I almost jumped out of my skin. It was like someone leaped out from behind the door and yelled, "Boo at you." I looked fearfully over my shoulder, and there was Two-Bit, grinning like a Chessy cat. "Glory, Two-Bit, scare us to death!" He was good at voice imitations, and it sounded for all the world like a snarling Sosha. Then I looked at Johnny. His eyes were shut, and he was white as a ghost. His breath was coming in smothered gasps. Two-Bit knew better than to scare Johnny like that. Guess he'd forgotten. He's kind of scatterbrained. Johnny opened his eyes and said weakly, "Hey, Two-Bit." Two-Bit messed up his hair. "Oh, sorry, kid. I forgot." He climbed over the chair and plopped down beside Marcia. "So who's this, your great aunts?" "Great-grandmothers, twice removed," Cherry said smoothly. I couldn't tell if Two-Bit was drunk or not. It's kind of hard to tell with him sometimes. He acts boozed up sometimes, even when he's sober. He cocked an eyebrow up and the other down, which he always does when something puzzles him, or bothers him, or when he feels like saying something smart. "Shoot, you're 96 if you're a day." "I'm a knight," Marcia said brightly. Two-Bit stared at her admiringly. "Brother, you're a sharp one. Where'd you ever get to be picked up by a couple of greasy hoods like Pony and Johnny?" "We really picked them up," Marcia said. "We're really Arabian slave traders, and we're thinking about Shanghaiing them. They're worth 10 camels apiece at least." "5," Two-Bit disagreed. "They don't talk Arabian, I don't think. Say something in Arabian, Johnny Cake." "Oh, cut it out," Johnny broke in. "Daddy was bothering them and when he left, they wanted us to sit with them to protect them. Probably against wisecracking greasers like you." Two-Bit grinned because Johnny usually didn't get sassy like that. "We thought we were doing good if we can get him to walk and talk at all. Incidentally, we didn't mind being called Greaser by another Greaser. Kind of playful then. Hey, where is old Dally anyways?" "He went hunting some action, booze, or dames, or a fight. Hope he don't get jailed again. He just got out." "Well, he'll probably find the fight," Two-Bit stated cheerfully. "That's why I came over. Mr. Timothy Shepard and Company are looking for whoever so kindly slashed their car's tires. And since Mr. Curly Shepard spotted Dallas doing it, well, does Dally have a blade?" "Not that I know of," I said. "Think he's got a piece of pipe, but he busted his blade this morning." "All good. Tim will fight fair if Dally don't pull a blade on him. Dallas shouldn't have any trouble." Jerry and Marcia were staring at us. "You don't believe in playing rough or anything, do you?" "Well, a fair fight isn't rough," Two-Bit said. "Blades are rough. Sword chains and heaters and pull sticks and rumbles. Skin fighting isn't rough. Blows off steam better than anything. There's nothing wrong with throwing a few punches. Socials are rough. They gang up on one or two and they rumble each other in their social clubs. Us greasers usually stick together. But when we do fight amongst ourselves, it's a fair fight between the two. And Dally deserves whatever he gets. Because slash tires ain't no joke when you gotta work to pay for 'em. He got spotted too, and that's his fault. All one rule besides stick together is don't get caught. He might get beat up, he might not. Either way, it's not going to be any feud between our outfits and Shepard's. If we needed them tomorrow, they'd show. If Tim beats Dowie's head in, then tomorrow ask us out for help in the rumble, we'll show. Dad was getting his kicks. He got caught. He pays up. No sweat." "Yeah, boy," Cherry said sarcastically. "Real simple." "Sure," Marcia said unconcerned. "If he gets killed or something, you just bury him, no sweats." "Hey, you did okay, baby." Two-Bit grinned and lit a cigarette. "Anyone want a weed?" I looked at Two-Bit admiringly. He sure put things into words good. Maybe he still was a junior at 18 and a half, and then maybe his sideburns were too long, and maybe he did get boosted up too much, but he sure understood things. Cherry and Marcia shook their heads at the offerings for cigarettes, but Johnny and I reached for one. Johnny's color was back and his breathing was regular, but his hand was shaking ever so slightly. A cigarette would steady it. "Pony boy, will you come with me and get some popcorn?" Cherry asked. I jumped up. "Sure. Y'all want some?" "I do," said Marcia. She was finishing the Coke Dally had given her. I realized that Marcia and Cherry weren't alike. Cherry had said she wouldn't drink Dally's Coke if she was starving, and she meant it. It was the principle of the thing. But Marcia saw no reason to throw away a perfectly good, free Coke. "Me too," said Two-Bit. He flipped me a 50-cent piece. "Get Johnny some too. I'm buying," he added as Johnny started to reach into his jeans pocket. We went to the concession stand, and as usual, there was a line a mile long, so we had to wait. Quite a few kids turned to look at us. You didn't see a kid grease and a Sochi cheerleader together often. Cherry didn't seem to notice. "Your friend, the one with the sideburns, he's okay?" "Oh, he ain't dangerous like Dow's, if that's what you mean. He's okay." She smiled and showed her eyes. She smiled and her eyes showed that her mind was on something else. "Johnny, he's been hurt bad sometime, hasn't he?" It was more of a statement than a question. "Hurt and scared." "It was the Socias," I said nervously, because there were plenty of Socias milling around, and some of them were giving me funny looks as if I shouldn't be with Cherry or something. "And I don't like to talk about it either," Johnny getting beat up, I mean, but I started in, taking it a little faster than I usually do, because I don't like to think about it either. It was almost 4 months ago. I'd walked down to the DX station to get a bottle of pop and see Steven's soda, because they'll always buy me a couple of bottles and let me help work on the cars. I don't like to go on the weekends because there's usually a bunch of girls down flirting with soda. All kinds of girls, socials too. I don't care too much for girls yet. Soda says I'll grow out of it. He did. It was a warmer spring day with the sun shining bright, but it was getting chilly and dark by the time we started for home. We were walking, but we had left Steve's car at the station. At the corner of the block, there's a wide open field where we play football and hang out, and it's often a site for rumbles, fistfights. We were passionate, kicking the rocks down the street, finishing our last bottle of Pepsi, when Steve noticed something lying on the ground. He picked it up. It was Johnny's blue jeans jacket, the only jacket he had. "Looks like Johnny forgot his jacket," Steve said, slinging it over his shoulder, trying to take it to Johnny's house. Suddenly he stopped and examined it more carefully. There was a stain the color of rust across the collar. He looked at the ground. There were some more stains on the grass. He looked up and across the field with a stricken expression on his face. I think we all heard the low moan and saw the dark, motionless hump on the other side of the lot at the same time. Soda reached him first. Johnny was lying face down on the ground. Soda turned him over gently, and I nearly got sick, because someone had beaten him up badly. We were used to seeing Johnny banged up. His father clobbered him around a lot, and although it made us mad in the heck, we couldn't do anything about it. But those beatings were nothing like this. Johnny's face was cut up, bruised, swollen. There was a wide gash from his temple to his cheekbone. He'd carried that scar all his life. His white t-shirt was splattered with blood. I just stood there, trembling with sudden cold. I thought he might be dead. Surely nobody could be beaten like that and live. Steve closed his eyes and for a second muffled a groan as he dropped down on his knees beside Soda. Somehow the gang sensed what had happened. Two-Bit was suddenly there beside me, and for once his comical grin was gone, and his dancing gray eyes were stormy. Derry had seen us from our porch and ran toward us, suddenly skidding to a halt. Daddy was there, swearing under his breath, and turning away with a sick expression on his face. I wondered about it vaguely. Dally had seen people killed on the streets of New York's west side. Why did he look sick now? "Johnny!" Soda lifted him up and held him against his shoulder. He gave the limp body a slight shake. "Hey, Johnny Cake!" Johnny didn't open his eyes, but there came a soft question. "Soda?" "Yeah, it's me," Soda Pop said. "Don't talk, you're gonna be okay." "There was a whole bunch of them," Johnny went on, swallowing, ignoring Soda's command. A blue Mustang, fool. I got so scared. He tried to swear, but suddenly started crying, fighting to control himself, and then sobbing all the more because he couldn't. I'd seen Johnny take a whipping from with the 2x4 from his old man and never let out a whimper. That made it worse to see him break now. Soda just held him and pushed Johnny's hair back out of his eyes. It's okay, Johnny Cake. They're gone now. It's okay. Finally, between sobs, Johnny managed to gasp out his story. He'd been hunting on football to practice a few kicks when the blue Mustang had pulled up beside the lot. There were 4 Socias in it. They caught him when one of them had a lot of rings on his hand, and that's what cut him up so badly. It wasn't just that they had beaten him half to death. He could take that. They had scared him. They had threatened him with everything under the sun. Johnny was high-strung anyway, nervous wreck from getting belted every time he turned around, and from hearing his parents fight all the time. Living in those conditions might have turned someone else rebellious or bitter. It was killing Johnny. He had never been a coward. He was a good man to rumble, stuck up for the gang, and kept his mouth shut good around the cops. But after the night of the beating, Johnny was jumpier than ever. I didn't think he'd ever get over it. Johnny never walked by himself after that, and Johnny, who was the most law-abiding of all of us, was now carrying in his back pocket a 6-inch switchblade. He'd use it too if he ever got jumped again. They had scared him that much. He would kill the next person who jumped him. Nobody was ever going to beat him like that again. Not over his dead body. I nearly forgotten Charity was listening to me. By the time I got back to reality and looked at her, I was startled to find her white as a sheet. Well, all soldiers aren't like that, she said. You have to believe me, pony boy. Not all of us are like that. Sure, I said. Well, that's like all saying all you greasers are like Dallas Winston. I bet he's jumped a few people. I digested that. It was true. Dally had jumped people. He told us stories about muggings in New York that made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. But not all of us were that bad. Sherry no longer looked sick, only sad. Yeah, I bet you think the Socias got it made. The rich kids, the West Side Socias. Well, let me tell you something, pony boy, and it may come as a surprise. We have troubles you've never even seen or heard of. You want to know something? She looked me straight in the eye. Things are rough all over. I believe you, I said. Hey, we better get back there with the popcorn or two, but I think I ran off with his money. We went back and watched the movie through again. Marcia and Two-Bit were hitting it all fine. Both had the same scatterbrained sense of humor. But Cherry and John and I just sat there, looking at the movie and not talking. I quit worrying about everything and thought about how nice it was to sit with a girl without having to listen to her swear or beat her off with a club. I knew Johnny liked it too. He didn't talk to girls much. Once Dallas was in reform school, Sylvia started hanging on Johnny and sweet-talking him, and Steve got a hold of her and told her if she tried any of her tricks with Johnny, he'd personally beat the tar out of her. Then he gave Johnny a little lecture on girls and how a sneaky little broad like Sylvia would get him into a lot of trouble. As a result, Johnny never spoke to girls too much. But whether that was because he was scared or because scared of Steve or because he was shy, I couldn't tell. I got the same lecture from Two-Bit after he picked up a couple girls downtown one day. I thought it was funny because girls are one subject even Derry thinks I use my head about. And it had been really funny because Two-Bit was half crocked when he gave me the lecture, and he told me some stories that made me about want to crawl under the floor or something. But he'd been talking about girls like Sylvia, and the girls Dally, and the rest of them picked up at drive-ins in downtown. He never said anything about Sochi girls, so I figured it was all right to be sitting there with them, even if they did have their own troubles. I really couldn't see what the Socias had to sweat about. Good grades, good cars, good girls, Madras, Mustangs, Corvairs. Man, I thought, if I had words like that, I consider myself lucky. I know better now.